In this video series, we're going to look into the ways in which we can automate the merging of a whole lot of PDF files. So just before I end up coding this whole thing up, let's just actually see how it works. So the idea is we've got a little graphical user interface in which we can navigate through. If I go to a folder that I'm interested in getting some files from, I can simply select these files, and what it will do is it will order the files, and upon typing something into this little bar, it will merge all of these individual files into one big PDF, which I will call resulting PDF. You can then hit a download button, and what this will do is it will create a new PDF that we had now got access to with all of them merged together. So stick around and you'll see how this is actually done. All right, so in order to get started with actually building this program, we're going to need a few libraries, most notably Streamlit, which we will import Streamlit as, let's nickname it as ST. Okay. Now, what we can do is we can write some Markdown. If you're not sure what Markdown is, you can just Google it, or you can look at the Streamlit documentation. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create a little heading, which we'll call PDF merger. Okay. And now, to actually run this program, we have to do two things. So this video will assume that you are familiar with Conda and virtual environments. If you're not, a quick Google search and maybe one or two YouTube videos can help you out with that. But I'm going to activate a Conda environment that I've already created using Conda activate and the name of my Conda environment, which I've called GUIs. Now I'm going to run this program by simply typing in streamlit run and the name of the program, which is mergepdfs.py. And what this will do is it will open up a little tab locally on my computer, which we can then, build this application with. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to print what version of Streamlit I'm dealing with. And this is going to be quite important because some of the methods are only available in later Streamlit versions. So why don't we say print, and the way we print in Streamlit is by simply going to streamlit.write, and let's just say streamlit._version_. So that we'll use this dunder or double underscore method in which we print the version, and here it is. So 1.6.0, that's the version that you're going to need in order for this to work. Okay. What we're now going to do is we're going to create a little container in which we can upload our files to. So what we can say is we could say streamlit.fileuploader, and this method has its own documentation to it. But for now, let's just, take my word for it. So what we're going to say is what we want to display is maybe a message that says choose files to upload. Then the next argument is the type of files you want to upload. So we can say the type of files that we want to deal with is PDF, which you put in a list. And the next thing that you put is the fact that you want to accept multiple files. So what you can say is accept multiple files, setting that to the Boolean of true. And let me store this in a variable called files uploaded. Okay. And what's going to happen now is, well, we have a container now in which we can drop some files into. So let's just first see what we're actually dealing with. So we can say print, or in other words, streamlit.write. Let's grab the type of this files uploaded object. So let's just see what sort of object we're dealing with. Okay, so it's a list. We can then take a look at the length of this object. There are 0 elements in this list. And what you're going to see now is that if I pick a file to upload, all of a sudden there's 1 element in this list. Fair enough, because 1 file has been uploaded. So it's a list of uploaded files. Okay. Now, because it's a list and there's 1 element in the list, we can take a look at the type of whatever the first element is. So the way in which we get the first element is just index 0. And what we now see is that this is a special streamlit.uploadedFileManager.uploadedFile object. And with an object, you have object methods and attributes. So why don't we just take a look at dir, which gives us all of the attributes and methods that we can apply to this files uploaded instance. So first of all, you have your double underscore or your magic dunder methods, and then you have some of the other methods and attributes which we'll be using. We'll be using maybe one or two or maybe even three of them. Okay, so that's kind of all I wanted to go through for this video. In the next video, we're going to be creating some of the user-defined functions that actually do the merging and then the loading of the file so that you can download it later. So stick around and thanks for watching. So continuing more or less from where we finished off last time, I thought I'd just leave this up here. So what's happening is I've uploaded one file, svmpart3.pdf. We know it's a list of files, which is what we're seeing here. And the first element of this list is an uploaded file object, which we saw from dir earlier. We can apply a whole lot of methods to, and we can get some attributes as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a function. We're going to create a few functions, but one of them will be simply ordering the files that we choose to drop in here, because the idea is we want part one to come first, then part two, etc. So we want to order the files, and then we actually want to show the user which files we're dealing with exactly, in case, you know, there's 20 or something and you want to know which 20 are being merged together. What we'll then do is actually merge the PDFs. So we'll combine all of the individual files into one big one. But for now, let's just actually order the files. So what we can say is something along the lines of this. So why don't we create a user-defined function called get ordered files. And this will take in all of the files that you want to deal with or drop in this little container. And I guess it's always good practice to write a little doc string to kind of tell you what your function does. And this could be good if you're coming back to some code after a long time away from it. Okay. So what we want to do is we actually want to create a list of tuples. And the way in which I'm going to do that is by calling the list built-in function as well as zip at the same time. And we're going to be essentially zipping two lists together in a whole lot of tuples, and you'll see what that means soon. But the first element that I'm going to put in this tuple is the actual files itself. And the second one is going to be all of the file names. So what we're going to say is for file in files, why don't we grab just the name? So f.name. So for file in files, we'll grab just the name. Okay. We're then going to sort this list using the sorted function like this, but we're going to sort it by just the file name itself. So what we're going to say is key is equal to lambda x index 1. And that should make 0 sense whatsoever. So what I'll do is I'll just get a picture which hopefully explains it a little bit better. So the idea is you have a files parameter, which is all of the files that you're going to drop in this container here, right? We could have 20 here. Then what we're going to do is, so here are all the files. We're going to store the entire object as the first element of the tuple. And then as the second element of the tuple, we're going to store just the name. And the idea is we have a whole lot of tuples where this is the whole uploaded file object, and this is the name. And because we're sorting it by index 0, index 1, so index 1, we're sorting it by just the name. Okay, fair enough. So why don't I call this sorted? And then what we're going to do is once we've now sorted the files by name, we can return not the name, but the entire object, because we want to do some further object methods to that. So what we can say is something like this. So return f index 0 for a file in sorted files. So just a recap, it's going to order it by name, but then return this element. It will return all the green stuff, not the red, but it will sort it by the red. Okay. All right, fair enough. Now what we'll do is we'll actually show the user what these files are. So we can create another function that says show files being merged. And I mean, it takes in all of the files that we've just sorted. And what we'll do is we will do something like this. So print, or in other words, streamlit.write. And let's just say files being merged. And then once we've done that, we'll start to actually get these files. So remember what we want to do. We want to say file names is equal to, so for each element in the list, we want to grab just the name. So we want to say f.name for a file in sorted files. So it's sorting this list in terms of the name, but then we're only returning the green stuff. But what we want to do is with this, we want to get the names again, and you'll see exactly why we do that. So, I mean, once we are aware of that, let's just actually print these to the screen. So for a file in all of our file names, why don't we just print the file? So st.write, okay? And back in my main program, what I'm going to say is something along the lines of this. So I'll say something like maybe ordered files, and we're going to call this user-defined function called getOrderedFiles. Now, what are the files that we're getting? Well, those are the ones that we uploaded, right? Okay, takes in a files parameter. And now, because we're not returning anything in this function, we can just call it without assigning it to some sort of variable. And we're going to show all of our files that we've just ordered. Okay, so if I click here, it tells you all the files that are being merged. And let me just purposely put these in like the wrong order and just see what happens. You'll see that it's sorting it for you, which is exactly what this function does. And let me actually just do some more. And you see that despite me adding it in the wrong order, it's gonna eventually sort it in the right order, which is what this function does. And then this one is just printing all of these to the screen. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna merge all of these files in the order that it's specified here. And to do this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a special merge PDFs function. So what we can say, def merge PDFs, and this is sort of like the meat of what this program is trying to do. And the files that it's merging together is all of the ones that we've uploaded, which I'll pass as a parameter there. Little docstring, why don't we just say takes individual PDFs and merges it into one big one. So merges many individual PDFs. Okay. And this is where we're going to need to use a library called PyPDF2. So we'll say from the PyPDF2 library, just watch the case there. From the PyPDF2 module, we'll import the PDF file merger class. So from library import class. Okay. And the way in which we do this is actually very simple. So we're going to create a result. And this is the resulting PDF, which is like our final PDF that has all been merged and is ready to use somewhere else. So we could say result is equal to an instance of the PDF file merger class. And once we create a result instance, of course, that means we can then apply object methods. So what we can say is we're just going to loop through each of these files, kind of stacking them on top of one another. So we could say for file in all uploaded files, why don't we just add to the result? So we can result.append f. And this PDF file merger has a special method called append, not to be mistaken with list append, although it is essentially doing the same thing. It's got a result, and we are stacking PDF 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6. So we're just appending them all to our result object. Then what we do is we literally just return the thing that we created. So return result. Okay. And I think for now that will do it. What we're going to do is we're actually going to call these three functions, and you'll see how it all sort of ties together. Okay, so this is the last video in this little mini series. And what we're going to do is actually just kind of go through some of the code. I'm not actually going to write it because it is fairly simple. And I think once I go through it once, it will make a lot more sense than just kind of looking at it plopped over here now. So all of this code is stuff that you've already seen before. I did add one simple function, which I'll explain, and then everything below this is new code. Now, what are we going to do? So we've got all of our files that we want to merged together, and we're going to store the merged result in a variable called final PDF that calls our merge PDF function. Now, all that our merge PDFs function does, just from memory, it just stacks all of your PDFs on top of one another. Okay, so that's going to be our final PDF. Then what we're going to say is if len uploaded files is greater than 0, in other words, if the list of uploaded files has more than 0 elements in it, in other words, if more than 0 things were added here, which there have been, there were 6 things that have been added here. If that criteria is true, which it is, it's going to open up a text input option, which is just another streamlit method. It's another streamlit top level function. And what you can do now is you type in what you want your file to be called. So why don't we just say final document like that. And let me store this final doc in a variable called file name. If file name, so if I hit enter, it's going to rename this to whatever the file name that I typed in here, .pdf, so .pdf. Then what it's going to do is it's actually going to write this to my current working directory. And that's what you see here. If you kind of rewind a little bit, 20 seconds ago, this wasn't here. And you could just end the program here, to be honest, because here's our final PDF. It's stored on our computer, end of story. But just for a little bit of fun, I added this little download button so that when you click this, it actually downloads it for you and you can take a look at it straight away. So what we can do is we can use another top level function called download button, and the label is just what gets displayed over here on this button. So download, then whatever the file name is, which I've called final.pdf. The file name that I want to download, so that when I actually hit this download button and something starts loading over here, it's going to be whatever the file name is, which is this. And then this mime is equal to application octet stream. To understand this, you sort of have to understand this as well. So the data that we're going to actually download, so once I click this download button, it's going to download some data. What is it going to download? Well, it's going to call this function, which essentially all that it does is it just loads this thing that we've saved to the current working directory. And we do that with a little context manager over here. So what we can say is with this file that we've saved, we can simply use something called f.read, if assuming we alias the file as f. And with f.read, you can read in this file. And so what's going to happen is once I type in this data parameter and so on and hit this download button, it's going to load this file up. And the reason why I've put application/octet stream is just straight from the documentation. So if the data is of type bytes or is a binary file, we need to do application/octet stream. And we know it's a binary file with the whole read binary over here. Okay. So just demonstrating this one last time, what's going to happen is that once I download this, well, here you go. It's downloading the final file. And once we click on it, you get all of your merge PDFs over here, all in order. Pretty cool. So that's the end of the series. If you have any ways of maybe simplifying this code, you're absolutely welcome to do so. I'm open to any suggestions. But here's a little script that you can use if you have maybe 10 weeks of lecture notes, week 1, week 2, week 3, and you don't want to flip between all of your slides. What you could do is just pass it all through the script, and now you have one big PDF that you can just do some nice like command Fs with if you want to search some stuff in your notes. So that's it. We've got plenty more videos coming, and stay tuned. But for now, thank you very much.